last name is Chukwu. It means I know God. And I'm glad to say that I do. I'm here today to talk about this book here. My name is John Chukwu, as I stated earlier. It's called It's Perfectly Normal for Students 10 and Up. This book details all kinds of sexual images, pictures of elderly people nude, pictures of an individual who's in a wheelchair with his penis out. All of these sexual pornographic images are made available and placed at the fingertips of children. And I'm sure, Dr. Cruz, I don't know if you knew about this before you signed on, but hopefully this is something that you can address and deal with, because this is immoral.
Yes, it is immoral. Definitely immoral. And it just speaks to the vibration of this world when it comes to these last days. You know, Satan shall come down with great wrath because he knows that he hath but a short time. So all these different aspects of sexual immorality, sexual obscenity, is pervasive. And there's an influx of children who choose to become homosexual or lesbian and whatnot because of the vibration of this world, because of the normalizing pederasty and pedophilia and sexualizing a young child. This is what they push. This is what they're doing these days, especially in the school system. They're going hard with it. I mean, you have transgender people go to the school butt naked, and their justification for it is because they want to show the children how it looks to be a transgender. And it's just like, come on, bro. These are children. These are children. They shouldn't be learning about these things. Like, they shoving this shit down the child's throat because the child is feeble-minded. This is why they focus on the child. They don't try to convince adults that this is normal or this is something that should be on board with. They convince the children because the children is feeble. The children don't really understand things. But the natural inhibition in the children is what shows, and sometimes they even question it, like, what am I seeing? What's going on? This is wrong. But it gets to a point where that's not even strong enough, and, they become victims. They become spiritually attacked. These children. This is why you have these books in these schools, because it's all about spiritual attack. It's all about spell casting. They want your child to look at this as something normal. They're trying to sexualize your child. And the biggest example of it has been Dwayne Wade and his son. That's like the worldly example of what they're doing all over the world in terms of these schools. That's like a manifestation or like a grand example of what's going on in these schools and just overall. And when it comes to, the imposition of this crazy obscenity, if you will, this depraved sexual aspect of this world, they trying to really go hard with imposing it on your children.
And asinine to allow children to be able to see this. Also, this book even shows images of two women having sex, a man and a woman having sex, and two men having sex. That's not perfectly normal. Who decides what's normal? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Or do parents decide what should be placed at the fingertips and allowed to be taught to their children in the school system?
See, the government wants to be the parents. The state wants to be the parents. This is why the child goes to school. This is why they try to combat, parents who want to homeschool their child, because they understand the power of influence, agenda, and position. So the parents, some parents, they be derelict in duty. I come across a lot of women who have children, they single mothers. They have children that choose to be gay. Like, most recently, I was talking to a woman who was justifying her child being gay, but this woman was a Christian. So it just goes to show how confused they are. And when it comes to that doctrine, it's just all bullshit, because they push that as well. It's just crazy, man. Like, we live in a world where the parent pretty much done gave up. Some of them. They pretty much then gave up and allowed the school system to raise their child. Allow the state to raise their child, allow the government to raise their child, the world to raise their child. And they wonder why the child grows up and is confused. Because there's no structure, there's no real guidance. Train your child up in the way that he should go. It's important for us to raise our children to the best of our ability to where, we understand that the way we're raising them is going to influence them in a way where they're going to stick with our vibration. Not necessarily saying that they have to do what we want them to do, but they still going to do things in the realm of righteousness. They're going to move in the realm of righteousness based off of how brothers raise their children. You can't have the woman raising the child by herself, because for the most part, the child is going to be pretty much a product of this world. Just being real. Not saying that they shouldn't raise a child, because sometimes, the scenario just happens like that, where you have a single mother, the father's not in the home. But when the woman is raising a child, they're not being raised really by like a strong foundation. They're being raised by the world, because the woman is adjacent to this world. The woman can't really teach the young child things that's separate from this world, unless she comes from a strong background, a strong household where she understands morals and principles. And some of them do. Some single mothers do have the ability to separate from this world and teach their child to separate themselves from this world, because it's a bunch of bugged out shit, and it's gonna be hard out here. And it's gonna be hard out here in the sense of all these different, demonic elements that can cast, a person, that can uphold a person. It's important for us to protect our spirit. When you raising your child, try to get your child to understand the importance of the Heavenly Father. Obviously, you can't just throw it all at him, but, try to break it down to him in a way where he's mentally aligned with it. Because that's what you need in this world in order for you to really understand what's good for you, what's right for you, what's right in general.
I'll read some of this for you. It says, after a bit, a person's vagina becomes moist and slippery, and the clitoris becomes hard. After a bit, a person's penis becomes erect, stiff, and larger. Pastor. Sometimes a bit of clear fluid that may contain sperm comes out of the tip of the...
You see how they're trying to cut him off? Because they don't want him to do too much exposing. But this is a beautiful example of an expose in regards to the demonic element of what they try to push on our young children, man. This is a beautiful example of an expose, because it's all a part of the agenda. I mean, I'm sure there's nothing that he can really do, but this is good enough, just calling it out. It's just crazy, man. Like I said, you have schools where the transgender comes into school butt naked, just to justify, pretty much justifying it by saying, it's a way where the young child understands what a transgender looked like, getting more into the understanding of it just based off of the anatomy element. And it's all bullshit. You shouldn't be having your child look at that shit. A child shouldn't even understand what none of this stuff is at their age. Go through steps. They should be understanding this stuff when they're like 12 or maybe like 14, 15, not as a young child. As a young child, you learn about the financial aspect, you learn about math and science, the economy, history. That's what you learned about in school. We learned about just the basic shit in school. They didn't shove this shit down our throat like they doing now. This is how you know that, Satan is really, really focusing on the feeble mind. Satan is really focusing on the Eve-like mind, because the child is just like Eve. The child is just like Eve, easily beguiled. And in some cases, they're not, because they can differentiate what's right and what's wrong just based off of the natural inhibition. Eve was more so someone who was influenced over the course of her life. You know what I mean? A child is just now, getting into the world. So he's fresh, but still feeble. But a grown woman, she's a grown child who's been taught many different things over the course of her life. So it's not even like she has a natural inhibition to say no. Even though when the serpent came to Eve, she did say that the Most High said not to do it, but she still was broken down, because that's just the natural element of the woman. But when it comes to these children, man, they almost on that same wave. So this is why they focus on the child. This is why they focus on the child. And this is why I always say a woman is no different from a child in most aspects. It's just the truth. Why do you think we say no women, no kids? That's just is what it is. So the Satan is focusing on children because the children think like Eve. You know what I mean? That's why they focus on women and children. They don't focus on the astute black man as far as like trying to impose an agenda on them. They don't do that. They only do that with children, homosexuals, and women.
Penis and makes
Pastor.
it wet.
Can we, sir, I'm sorry.
Is there,
Hold on, we're gonna go back a little bit just to, look at this aspect where he's trying to cut him off. It's crazy, man.
penis
Excuse you,
becomes erect,
Excuse me.
stiff, and larger.
Pastor,
Sometimes a bit of clear
Pastor.
fluid that may contain
Pastor.
sperm comes out of the tip of the penis and makes
Pastor.
it wet.
can we, sir, I'm sorry.
Was it something I said? Was it something I said?
Or was it something I read? Cause this is written. This ain't me. This is written, bro. And you telling me to shut up. Because you probably partaking in some of that shit. You probably a fucking pedophile. Fucking crazy world, man. No, let the brother expose this shit. Let the brother let this all out so people can understand what's going on. Don't cut him off. But that's the world we live in, bro. The astute mind, the sound mind is the ones that's gonna be pretty much persona non grata. Or they're gonna try to make people like that persona non grata, like they don't matter. Or they should just, they should heed what they or they should pretty much be quiet, for lack of a better expression. Because at the end of the day, man, their sole focus is the children. Their sole focus is the children, the feeble-minded demographics.
If you don't want to hear it in a school board meeting, why should children be able to check it out of the school system? See, we have perverts that are perverting our kids. And you all sit back smug in your chairs and celebrate diversity, equity, and inclusion, but you don't want me to read it so you can hear it. Why? Does it bother you? Yes or no? You can't answer that question. You want to know why? Because politically speaking, you can't say that it's wrong.
And that's why we live in a fucked up world, man. People are too scared to come to the fore and stand up, man. Only sound-minded brothers, only astute-minded brothers like this one, seemingly. You know what I mean? We live in a world where motherfuckers just accept it. People just take it. And some people, they already know that it's wrong, but they just, either they got too much to lose or they just don't have the strength to combat it verbally. I don't give a fuck. If something is wrong, I'm going to combat it verbally. I'm going to stand up. Fuck that. Like, I'm tired of this world. I'm tired of all these agendas. I'm tired of what I see every fucking day. Every fucking day. I don't give a fuck if I come across $1 million. I'm still going to have the same mindset because I hate this fucking world. I hate this shit so much. So me coming across $1 million ain't going to change that. I'm still going to have the same outlook that I have because it's righteous indignation. And this shit is getting worse and worse before us. Fucking world, man.
You probably are a Christian man, but many Christians today have become more Democrat than Christian. Some Republicans have become more Republican than Christian. I'm not trying to win an election. I don't get my talking points from the RNC or the DNC. I get my talking points from the Bible, from the Bible.
Right. And that's gonna be the main thing that's gonna pretty much keep us sane in this life, man. These last days, the scriptures, man. For real, brothers. The scriptures is the only thing that's gonna keep us sane. That's the only thing that's pretty much keeping this world going right now. The scriptures, bro. As far as like the righteous element of the world, which is like a remnant. But man, that's the scriptures. That's what you need. That's your weapon.
And you don't want me to read the filth because it exposes the truth. How dare you tell me to stop reading it? If you don't want to hear it, why should the children have to see it.
Pastor, your time.
Yeah, why do they have to be forced to internalize or to learn this stuff? Why are they imposing this on the children? You see? Like, you just don't win. The sound-minded brother does not win in this world. The righteous does not win in this world. We only win when shit really hits the fan. Right now, we not winning because the vibration is in favor of Satan. It's in favor of the left. All this left-hand shit. You got women walking around with their ass cheeks out like it's nothing. You got homos and trannies teaching in schools. You got all these different advents of confusion. All this shit is just all crazy and bugged out because we living in these last days. Like, think about it. 20 years ago, 15, 25 years ago, did you see women walking around with their ass cheeks out? I mean, you saw women, they walked around with like little booty shorts or whatever, but with their ass out, their ass cheeks. That's what we living in right now. I don't give a fuck how hot it is. You see a woman walking around ass cheeks, she's a fucking hoe, she's a slut. That's all fuck she is. But you didn't see that like years ago. And I think it speaks to the vibration of this world. I mean, females are given more leeway in this world. This is their kingdom. So they do what the fuck they want. And it goes for children and homos. And not necessarily children to a degree, because it's more about forcing shit on the children. That's what it is. It's all about agenda imposition. So that's why they use the children to be of this world. But all these things that's going on in this world, it just speaks to why we need to adapt to the Heavenly Father, why we need to adopt a certain understanding. We already, adapting to the Heavenly Father. We already a part of this whole, safe haven when it comes to the Heavenly Father, the knowledge, the wisdom, the understanding, following the commandments, so on and so forth. We just need to maintain it and use it as security.
The time is up. Thank you.
That makes two of us.
It's just crazy, man. But like I said, we just have to maintain our understanding, be vigilant. And we got to know that, the righteous ain't necessarily going to win in this world until shit really hits the fan. All this stuff, it just speaks to who's on top and who's in favor, what entity is in favor, what spirit is in favor. And that's the spirit of Satan. That's the spirit of darkness and iniquity and wickedness. That's just what it is. Shout out to my brother Pierre, man. Pierre is someone who really helped me understand certain things when it comes to health. And, he sends me these great links, some great fodder. So I appreciate you, brother. And you guys should check out his website, pierreandre.com. Very insightful when it comes to health and just his knowledge on certain things in regards to the medical field and just health in general. French President Macron defends pedo painting showing child being orally raped. Now, obviously, we live in a world where Satan shall come down with great wrath because he knows that he hath but a short time. So all this does is lend credence to the Bible. It validates the scriptures because the scriptures speak prophetically, and it tells you that these things that's going on is what we would see, especially in the book of Revelation. But throughout the book, it's prophesied that these things would happen. You know what I mean? So we shouldn't marvel at it, but we should know it. Notice it, we should take note of it based off of understanding the vibration of this world. So it's like one of those things where we spot the fact that we in the end, and this is an example of it. One of those things where they're trying to normalize this level of sin. They're trying to normalize the aspect of pedophilia and pederasty to the point where they reel you in. Certain people succumb to it and they say stuff like, well, it's all love. They love each other. That's what certain people are going to start to say, because that's the power of Satan. That's the power of trickery. France's President Emmanuel Macron has defended artwork which depicts a child being orally raped by an adult after protesters threw paint on it. Doesn't appear to depict that. It does depict that. That's why I didn't read that word. The graphic paint entitled Fuck Abstraction depicts an entirely nude, muscular adult forcing what appears to be a naked, slightly built male child kneeling with his hands bound behind his back to fillet him. Just ridiculous, man. But it goes to show you that, this world that we're living in, when it comes to the vibration of it, we understand that it's left. We understand that this means we're in the end. So we should be joyful because at the end of the day, it's all about endurance, maintaining our devotion to the Heavenly Father, maintaining our connection with following the commandments. Before you was in this understanding, we didn't have a understanding of like, what's right and wrong to the degree where, you know, this would mean that we could be saved. You get what I'm saying? Like we didn't have that understanding. Certain people probably thought they was righteous, but they was eating pork. You get what I mean? So when you come into the knowledge and you understand, what you need to do in terms of pleasing the Heavenly Father and earning your keep, it's important for you to keep that. It's important for you to maintain that and keep it intact. Don't fall out. So just reading this over. The graphic painting titled Fuck Abstraction depicts an entirely nude, muscular adult forcing what appears to be a naked, slightly built male child kneeling with his hands bound behind his back to fillet him. Someone who objected to its pedophilic content splashed it with purple paint at the Palais de Tokyo Modern Art Museum in Paris, prompting France's increasingly unpopular globalist president to leap to its defense. Targeting a work of art is an attack on our values, Macron complained. This is not a work of art, and he knows that. He knows that. He most likely is a pedophile, and when it comes to the people that's in that type of high, prominent position, obviously you had to do some sort of compromising. And maybe it's not compromising to you because you probably into that. Most of these heads, these dignitaries or these big-time prime ministers, big-time presidents, most of them is into that shit, man. And when it comes to the Kabbalah, they defend homosexuality and pedophilia. And most of them are Kabbalists, Luciferians. So they do these things. This is all a part of their world. The worship of Pan is pretty much what this represents. We already understand what Pan goes back to. And this is like a lot of people, when they hear me say Pan, they think Chronicles of Judah 144. It's not a Chronicles of Judah 144 thing. It's just a truth thing. It just is what it is. This is what it is. It goes back to that. The brother was just able to really lay it out to the point where it makes sense, and then you verify it, and that's just what it is. Like they worship the goat in this society. They worship Pan in this society. Pan is a composite of the goat. They pushing pedophilia. We already know what Pan is. Pan is the god of pedophilia. So that's just what that is. You even got a fucking cartoon that's named after Pan. So it's like it's for truth's sake. Certain people they get on here, they say, "Oh, certain things you say Chronicles say." Well, it's not about me saying what he said. It's about what it is. And I don't necessarily say what he said. You know what I mean? I do my research. I present the information, and I cover it based off of my understanding of it. Like I told you guys, I gained inspiration from the brother, and that's just where that's at. There's no copying. There's none of that going on. And the reason why I gotta say this is because certain people, they so simple-minded to the point where they may see it as that because we talk about the same things, but it's just something that I love to do. And it's something that I'm passionate about because it's the type of time you gotta be on. When it comes to living in these last days, the black man has to adopt something and stick to it when it comes to just, maintaining his peace. This is peaceful for me. This is maintaining my sanity in this crazy ass world that we're living in these last days. So it's important for us just to, identify with something that can help us be salvaged, just being real. And identifying with what? The scriptures, identifying with, teaching brothers or more so informing brothers, supping with brothers, getting together with brothers on a forum or in person or wherever, and just maintaining that because you want to be in this realm where everything is all about the foundation. Everything is all about what? The Most High, his son, your brother, following the commandments. You want to stay in that safe haven of those things. But yeah, man, this dude is just pretty much making it acceptable when it comes to child porn or just pedophilia. Oh, excuse me, I had went up. Let's go back down. In France, art is always free and respect for artistic creation is guaranteed. The hypocrisy. Mariam Khan, a Swiss artist in her 70s, has claimed that the work, supposedly a tribute of sorts to victims of alleged war crimes in Bucha, Ukraine, does not depict a man and a child. She claims the victim's childlike size and physique is intended to represent. Come on, bro. Oh my God, the corporeal power of the oppressor and the fragility of the oppressed, but many are unconvinced. Yes, they are because it's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. It does not represent some, person being oppressed. And the reason they talking about is the reason why it's a child. It's like childlike is because it represents oppression. It's just nonsense. Like, come on, you could do better than that. It's a picture that promotes pedophilia, and it's getting to a point where we know these things based off of the vibration of the world, and these people do these things based off of the vibration of this world. You know, the Most High is pretty much, ramping all this stuff up. The Most High is putting the spirit on people to act out all these things. So, shit can get crazy. That's just what it is. When I say get crazy, you already know. You already know. Your brothers already know what's going to happen. All this stuff is meant to happen just so, there can be great strife and calamity in these last days. Indeed, the Association Juristes Power Enfants, Lawyers for Children, or Childhood appealed to the courts and the state council to have the painting removed under child protection laws, but were unsuccessful. I wonder why. Lawyers for the Palais de Tokyo held judges' refusal to intervene, like Macron, as victory over attempts at circumventing the right to freedom of expression by way of so-called child protection. It's not it's not protection at all. Such references to freedom of expression will be risible to observers familiar with just how weak free speech protections are in France, with a woman in her 50s who referred to Macron as filth currently due to appear in court for the crime of quote unquote insulting the president of the republic in June. You know, it's important for us to understand what we up against, man. It's definitely important for us to understand what the fuck we up against in these last days. The perpetrator of the spray paint attack, described as elderly according to a source close to the case, was unhappy with the sexual portrayal of a child and an adult presented in the painting, but was not affiliated with an activist group, Times of Israel reported. And mind you, this person was elderly because that's common for the elderly where they stick to principles and morals. They don't dwell in this new secular world that we live in, this new age world that's full of Luciferianism and a bunch of just progressive shit. They don't dwell in that. So obviously they're opposed to all these things. So when they see a picture like that, shit, they're gonna do what they're gonna do what they feel is right to them. Even though it's not right according to the law, but at the end of the day, it's like, bro, why are you promoting that? You guys should be arrested. But the righteous lose, or at least the people who think on that level when it comes to principles and morals, they still lose. It's all about Satan's world. This is all about Satan's vibration. Infowars.com reports the piece features what appears to be a child in bondage performing fellatio on a male figure because that's what it is. Look at this shit. What is this? What else is this? Come on, bro. Look at this shit. This shit is crazy, though. This is crazy. Oppression. Come on, man.